Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back with another episode of Hearthstone. We are wrapping up our mini-series of rebuilding our decks for after Blackrock Mountain, not for Blackrock Mountain. It probably would have been a little helpful to rebuild our decks before Blackrock Mountain, but we didn't do that. But now that we have some more cards and hopefully some more knowledge, we're rebuilding our decks after. So today we're going to do our second to last character, the Mage. Uh, we've worked our way down and done all the others. We have the Mage and the Paladin. Mage is pretty special because it is the default character that you play with when you start Hearthstone. First game in the tutorial, you play as the Mage. I'd recommend you stick with the Mage pretty much for a nice long time because it is the simplest strategy strategy character, and the cards aren't really that tricky. So let's go ahead and you probably already know it if you've played any Hearthstone. You probably already know what the deal is with the Mage, but let's go through for the new people and just look at what the cards are about. We have Icelands. Interesting it's a very early card, a classic card, but it's pretty complex. It freezes a character. Unless it's already frozen, then it deals 4 damage. So if you had 2 of these in your deck, you might do 2 damage unless you have some other characters like Snow Choker here, which will freeze a character damaged by this. So for the Mage, there's 2 ways to go about. There's the spells that will just try to power up spells to do direct damage, or there's the frozen aspect some more, and they kind of work together pretty well. There's some other cards that do some other things. Here's the Mana Wraith. No, that's a Mana Worm, not Wraith. The Wraith does something different. Whenever you cast a spell, gain +1 attack. You play this early, and if you could play spells, you could get it pretty powered up, but in reality, if you played, you would have to play this at least the 3rd turn, and then play 2 other 1 mana cards to get it to a 3/3. So it's really not as good as you would think it is, and it hasn't worked that well for me every time I've tried it. Now you can play the coin with this, and technically the coin is a spell. At least a lot of the cards interpret it that way, but sometimes the cards don't interpret it that way. I think it's just a bug in the system, maybe, would be the best thing to say there. Let's see. Flame Cannon is a new Goblins vs. Gnome, deal 4 damage to a random enemy minion. It's pretty powerful for 2 mana. It's random, but doing 4 damage versus 3 is new. Unstable Portal, add a random minion to your hand that costs 3 less. Pretty good card, I think, but you are having a lot of randomness in your deck by having it, because instead of having a better card, what you're doing is you're taking one of your 31 slots and putting it to this card that will give you just any old random thing, which could cost any amount, but there's a good chance it might be less than 3 or 3 mana, so you could play it for free, but there's a good chance it won't be. And when you realize you've already spent 2 mana to play a 3 mana creature, you could at most save 1 mana that way. Well, you say, however, whatever card you get, whatever random card you get, you're going to be saving 3 mana, but sometimes that gets wasted. A lot of times that will get wasted. Snow Choker we already looked at, that freezes any character damaged by a minion. Sorcerer's Apprentice. Now you could go down this route and have characters that make your spells cost 1 less. I'm not sure you could do a lot of characters like this. I don't know if there are any other characters that make your spells cost less. So if you have 2 of these on the field, your spells could cost 2 less, but I don't think you could get it any further. Counterspell's a pretty good secret. You could go heavy on secrets on the Mage. You can pretty much do about anything on the Mage and get a decent hand deck. But Counterspell's cool. I wish I had it. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, it's just countered. I probably wouldn't actually play Counterspell. I was thinking of a different secret. Ice Barrier, when your heroes attack, gain 8 armor. Now this is weird because it's called Ice Barrier and it really has nothing to do with ice. So if there was a card that said, do something, add damage to all cards with ice in the name, this would be included, and there's really no reason. I think it's more storyline reason towards who the Mage character is in World of Warcraft, which they may need to go fix that. Ice Block, same thing. When your hero takes fatal damage, prevent it and become immune this turn. Gives you one more turn to try and win. But honestly, if I'm going to lose, one more turn's not going to save it. Mirror Entity is a secret where your opponent plays a minion, you get a copy of it. It's a little too random. There's a lot of randomness in the Mage. Not surprising for an easy game. You would want to be a little bit more random so that people who aren't the best players might win just on silliness. Here's Spellbinder. This is the secret I was thinking about. When an enemy casts a spell on a minion, summon a 1/3 as its new target. So if somebody is trying to power up their creatures, give them like a +1/+1, this would come out on the field and it would get the +1/+1. However, if somebody was trying to kill one of your characters, this would come on the field and it'd be the new target. It kind of works both ways. Vaporize is a little annoying. Secret, when your minion attacks when a minion attacks your hero, destroy it. It's a little annoying. You'd have to play it pretty late game to do some major damage to their strategy. Usually people are going to have more than one minion on their deck ready to attack. Kirin Tor Mage has a battle cry. The next secret you play costs 0. If you're going to play heavy secrets, I'd have him, but I wouldn't do it. I mostly focus on the spell damage +1 characters. You want to just have all of those to get those spell damage pumped up. But without that final one that does, I believe, 10 damage to the face, you're going to have to do some damage with your minions also. You can't just have a whole bunch of spell damage and have them never actually hit the face. Cone of Cold, freeze the minion and the minions next to it, then deal 1 damage to all 3 of those, potentially 3 people. Echo Emissive, put a copy of each friendly minion into your hand. This would certainly be helpful. I mean, yeah, because then you could have a whole bunch of spell damage +1 guys on your deck and then get another copy of them and put it on there. But I'm pretty sure I've had a deck just full 7 characters, which is the max of spell damage +1 guys, and it's still not that super helpful. If you're playing heavy on secrets, you can have the Ethereal Arcanist. If you control a secret at the end, you get +2/+2. So that would get him a 5/5 at the end of the first turn, 7/7 at the end of the second turn, 9/9 at the end of the third turn. You'd be pretty powerful at that point for 4 mana. If you have a mech, deal 4 damage randomly split amongst all enemies. Well, there is like 1 mech I've seen, 1 or 2, but not a super heavy amount of mechs. You could do a mech deck, I think, pretty much in any character, because mechs are from goblins and gnomes, and they just added it so that it would work with all of them. We have Spell Stopper. As in small, I suppose. Adjacent minions can't be targeted by spells or hero powers, but technically this one could be, so you could cast a spell to kill this one, and then the adjacent minions would no longer have that protection. I'm not sure I'd really have that in my deck. Blizzard, do 2 damage to all enemies and freeze them. Here we have Archmage Antonidas? Yeah. Whenever you cast a spell, add a fireball spell to it. Very, very crucial guy. You would definitely want it to have a really good Mage deck. You get him out on the 7th turn. On the 8th turn, you play a whole bunch of spells. You get fireballs back. You play those fireballs. You could do major damage at that point. But that's a pretty late game strategy that you have going there. Flame Leviathan, when you draw this, deal 2 damage to all characters. New strategy here. One of the first cards that does something when you draw it. They've added several scenarios in Goblins vs. Gnomes for, like, when you draw a card, do something. When something is in your hand, do something. These are all things that weren't introduced in the original, but they are going to expand like that in the future. And then you have Pyroblast here, which is your very, very 10th turn late game ability to deal 2 damage. It's very focused on damage. Let's see. So, what I'm not seeing here, which is weird, is some of these spells, because I'm in crafting and it's not including soulbound cards. Did I do that last episode? Oh, I must apologize if I at some point or through this whole series haven't been showing soulbound cards, but yeah, there's a lot more. Oops. Yeah, you can transform a minion into a 1/1 sheep. You can freeze a character with water elemental, deal 4 damage. That explains why I couldn't find that card last episode. Blizzard, deal 2 damage to all enemies and freeze them. Flame Strike, deal 4 damage to all enemies. I definitely like those cards. When did I click that? That's gonna bother me. And so, when we include soulbound cards on the neutral ones, I don't think there are any real soulbound neutral cards. At least I'm not seeing any. So we'll work our way backwards this time. Yeah, I'm not seeing any new cards. Although things are slightly out of order. Yeah, that does kind of indicate. Here, well, see, it ends the same place. Yeah, there is a bunch of soulbound cards. Interesting. Well, that stinks. So I've been building decks that are not soulbound at all. Interesting. Well, that was dumb of me. That might explain a lot. Let's move on though. It almost goes to show I'm gonna have to go rebuild all my decks again. Don't worry, I'll do that offline on my own time. I'm not gonna make another mini-series. Once again, you get proof that I am not perfect. I am just a normal gamer who makes mistakes all the time. So I'm looking here at cards, and none of them really worked that well with the Mage so far. You could always do the Annoyatron. You could always take Zombie Chow. But that's not gonna synergize with the Mage. The only thing that's really gonna synergize are spell damage +1s. You can silence with the Owl, always a good consideration. This is the Mana Wraith I was talking about. So you don't get till you get to the Cobalt Geomancer, which is spell damage +1, do you start seeing cards that actually work. Now, if you were playing a heavy secret deck, I could see playing the Mad Scientist, and you might always consider the Knife Juggler, but the Knife Juggler is often more just an annoyance than an actual threat. First minion you play costs 1 less. it's always a consideration if you don't have any better cards, but it's usually not worth it. Certainly when you start playing Hearthstone, you're gonna have to make some really bad decks because you're just not gonna have the cards. You're gonna want to play the arena as much as possible, and that way you can get packs and start expanding your collection faster. You could always play Dancing Swords to try and draw one more card, but it's not a very valuable card. Remember, your deck always has 30 cards in it, so you want those cards to have value. You don't want to have a bunch of cards that are just going to get summoned and attacked and killed and not even defeat the minion that attacked them. That won't win you a game. You might try Hobgoblin, but I don't think there are any one attack minions for a spell deck really, so I wouldn't. What's the next one? Always questing adventure, always a thing. Notice we keep coming back to the same cards. Those are the ones that I've looked at and I think might work a lot of times, but we skip a lot of those ones that well, this has no ability anyway, so unless you just want one more mech in your deck, I wouldn't play Spider Tank. I wouldn't play Shadowed Sun Clerk because it's a little expensive and it just does a 1/1 thing. I used to play Raid Leader a lot, now I don't play it much because it dies too early. It's too weak. For 3 mana it should be a 3/3. Instead it's a 2/2. Same is true for the Shaded Nexrem. It doesn't ever get powerful enough before it's killed. So here's one I don't have that would work in the Mage deck, the Ancient Mage. Give adjacent minions spell damage +1. So that's pretty good. That's 2 spell damages up. I think I missed a 3 creature that had spell damage +1. Did I? Yes, I did. The Darylin Mage. Yeah, you'll definitely want that. There is a 2 mana, a 3 mana, a 4 mana, and I believe a 5 mana creature that all have spell damage +1, so it's very simple. Always consider Defender of Argus. Let's see. There aren't a lot of mage things that you could target the Dragonkin Sorcerer with. You would think this would work in a mage deck, but it really doesn't. Because you're not targeting your own guy. Well, you could target him and do damage to him, but you wouldn't want to do that. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's see. Battlecry, take control of a random secret. You might use this if you were going with a heavy secret deck. A secret mage deck though would probably just annoy the people. Mini Mage, stealth, and spell damage +1. That's pretty good. I'd have that in my deck if I had it. Ogre Magi is a 4/4, 4/4, 4 mana, 4 attack, 4 health, and spell damage +1. Pretty good card there. So definitely want that in my deck. You might try Spellbreaker to silence a minion, but there's no real reason to have this versus the Owl. I'd take the Owl because it's 2 mana cheaper. You could have Violet Teacher. Whenever you cast a spell, it summons a 1/1 Violet Apprentice. It's never really worked out that well. Always considering the anti-kill bot these days, so just that massive restoration of 8 health is pretty good. Here's your 5 mana Azure Drake, spell damage +1, Battlecry, draw a card. Let's see. Anything else? What's the next one? I used to play Frostwolf Warlord to try to play it a lot. It didn't ever work. I used to play Berserker a lot and didn't work. Wish I had some of these legendaries. just because I kind of want them. I wouldn't even play half of them. So you have Lithopia, your enemy spells cost 5 more. I wouldn't have this in my deck because even if it was Mage versus Mage, it's a little too expensive for what it does. But it is very annoying when your opponent plays this and you wanted to do some spells. You basically just can't do any spells at that point, not efficiently. Now I don't think there might be a 6 mana spell damage +1, but yes, here we are. Archmage, 6 mana, spell damage +1. It's pretty much all you're going to do in a standard mage deck, and it's a pretty obvious strategy, so everybody else that's playing mage is probably going to do that too. And so it's just gets really down to whoever got there first. This was the actual first like rare card I ever got, and I may have even got them in gold and turned them and gotten rid of them in gold because that's what I've been doing, is sticking with the regular card backs. Whenever you cast a spell, draw a card. He's a little too expensive for that. 6 mana for a 4/4, and then you just draw a card whenever you cast a spell. You're talking 7th turn before this guy ever works. You'd have to summon him on the 6th turn and play a 1 mana spell. Whenever you cast a 1 mana spell, add a random mech to your hand. I don't even know if there are 1 mana spells in the well, there's a couple I know, but not a lot. It's not like spells are super cheap in the mage deck. Is there a 7 mana spell damage? I believe there might be. Let's see. Because one of these legendaries gives us spell damage +5, which would definitely be in my deck if I had it. Let's see. I used to play Stormwind Champion a lot. I don't play it now. It's not really worth it. I mean, it's a 7th turn trick, and if you have no other legendaries, I guess Stormwind Champion is your soulbound first legendary card. So early on you'll probably play Stormwind Champion, but it's not really that great. You might even consider the War Golem over it just for that extra health and extra thing. So we're into the legendary section where all of these you get them from doing Nyxramus and Ragnaros, and I guess I got lucky on a few card packs. Set the hero's remaining health to 15. I don't think that's really worth it having in your deck. I don't think Majordomo Executus here is worth having. Notice this is a Blackrock Mountain card, but it is also soulbound, which means you can't turn it into dust. Whereas a normal card like this you could disenchant for wow, 5 dust. Ever so generous. I probably wouldn't want to disenchant cards unless you already had the maximum of 2 of them. So here's your 9, it's a 9 mana card, Malgus, spell damage +5. It only has 4 attack, but it has 12 health. But I think you'd mostly be playing this for the spell damage +5, and that might be pretty cool. But I'm not sure. Playing Nefarian might be interesting as a mage. Gives you 2 random spells from your opponent's class. It's a little random though, because you never know who you're playing against. I would never play Nozodomo. Giving them 15 seconds to take their turns isn't going to change the game. People just get faster. Ursa is an interesting consideration here because it adds a dream spell card to your hand every time. So if by the 9th turn you're low on spell cards, you've got that option to keep on playing spell cards. Deathwing, I probably would never use that. And then we have the giants that just cost less. So let's go back to the mage thing for a second, and just because I missed a lot, and hopefully I only made this mistake of not having Soulbound clicked the last episode and didn't do it all. But let's talk about some of the Soulbound cards, because we missed them. We totally missed them. Arcane Missile deals 3 damage to randomly split among all enemies. When spell damage goes up that turn, spell damage plus 1 will make that 4. So you get that really split up, and you can do a lot of damage. Mirror Image is 2 0/2s with taunt. I love that as a first turn. Then you have Arcane Explosion that does 1 damage to all the minions. You have Frostbolt here that does 3 damage and freezes it. You could draw 2 cards. Yeah, I missed a lot of cards. So here's a secret that when a minion dies you get 2 more copies of it, which is kind of cool. Freeze all minions if you're just trying to play a frozen deck. Flamewalker here, after you cast a spell, deal 2 damage randomly split among it. I definitely want that in my deck. Now that I have it from Blackrock Mountain. Fireball, very important. The whole point of getting all the spell damage is you want these Soulbound cards to do damage. So you get a +1, this deals 7 instead of 6. You get a +2 +1s, it does 8 instead of 6. Yeah. I guess the reason why all the major damage mage cards, the spells that do damage, are Soulbound, makes kind of sense, so that they don't come out with any new cards that will just overwrite those and make them obsolete. Deal 2 damage to all enemies and freeze them with the Blizzard, versus dealing 4 damage with the Flame Strike. It's kind of a fire and ice theme going on too. Anyway, so let's get out of here and let's show you what I chose for my new mage deck. Again, I have my Hearthstone deck tracker overlay on, so I know what I picked, and I am not just memorizing this or reading it off of paper. So Arcane Missiles I really love, because they will usually help a lot, particularly if you can get some spell damage before you play them. I don't typically want to play them before on the first turn. I want to play them later in the game. Mirror Images are great for first turn things, so I play them. Again, I'm not checking the gold ones. I could potentially do all gold or close to all gold on the mage since I'm at max level, but there would still be a couple of cards that I just don't have in gold. Let's see. I took the Mana Worm, which I guess I am experimenting with that a little bit. I only took 1, and then I took the Unstable Portal, so I was probably just balancing out for that. Here's the one. I don't have a gold version of this. I don't have a gold version of these because they are not Soulbound. I only have gold cards for the Soulbound. Then I took Kobold Commando, Geomancer, what is it? Let's see. Kobold Geomancer, it's a 2 mana creature. Let's see, where is it? Here we are. Kobold Geomancer, obviously. And then I took 2 mana Duplicate, which, where is Duplicate? Must be a neutral card. Are there neutral spell cards? I thought all the neutral cards were creatures. Let's see. Interesting. Where would... If it's called Duplicate, it should be right here. Let's see. Am I missing it? What's deal here? Oh, it's 3 mana. That's the deal. I'm misreading it. There it is right there. 3 mana duplicate. So I put 2 of those in my deck. I chose Ice Barrier for some reason. I don't know why. I cannot justify this deck I built anymore. I really don't care too much about the Mage since it's max level. I just needed to win. I only needed to be good enough to win. I don't need it to be perfect because I'm only going to play it when I have quests that require it. I took 2 mirror entities. I often call this mirror entry, but it's mirror entities. And it is a reference here with the blue and the orange to Portal in my opinion. And I think that's pretty cool. I like Portal. And I did a series about Portal and Portal 2, which I hope you go check out if you haven't seen it. Next one I took was the Darlin Mage, 3 mana neutral card. Again, it's just going to be the spells. In fact, let's just go ahead and get them all. The 3 mana one because I know I have that. And then move over to the 4 mana spell damage +1. Let's see. Ogre Magi. Take both of those. And then let's see. 5 mana one. I only have 1 of Azure Drake, so I put that in there. And then let's see. Is Archmage a 6 mana neutral? Yes, it is. There. So that'll save us some time going back and forth. Basically, I just grabbed all the spell damage +1 characters. You would have to make a really weird decision if you weren't going to have them have those in your mage deck. It's pretty much pre-decided that you are. So other things I got with a Flamewalker. So I did make the right decision to put that in my deck. At least I didn't make that. A Soot Spewer here. Only have 1 of those, so I'll put it in. And then Fireball. Definitely want those. And then Eternal Arcanist. Interesting. I put that in my deck. I'm doing kind of a combination between the spell damage and the secrets. Trying to kind of mix it up and have both. Best of both worlds. I don't know if that's gonna work, but it's an interesting thought. Let's see. Dragon's Breath, deal 4 damage, costs 1 less for each minion that dies. New Black Rock Mountain concept, it costing 1 less for each minion that died. Definitely want it in your deck because if you've killed just 2, then it's a 3 mana card that does 4 damage. And you could kill 2 minions pretty easily by just attacking an enemy, killing your enemy minion and your own. So I took 2 of those, and then let's see, 2 Flame Strikes, and that is my mage deck. It's a little weird, I'll admit it. I probably need to think about it some more, but I'm not going to really think about it too much more because except for quest, it doesn't matter. So let's play a couple of games and then we'll call it an episode. This episode might have been a little bit longer because we realized our mistake with unchecking the soulbound cards. That is something I guess you should keep an eye out for in crafting mode. Otherwise you're gonna not be getting a full selection of cards to pick through and look at.
Jaina versus Jaina.
So here we have a mage versus mage, and it doesn't. I'll probably still lose on this deck, but we might win. So here's our first turn. Here's our second turn. There's no reason to really use the coin and summon him on the first turn. If you're lucky, you can get a first, second, and third turn all in your draw if you're the second
Ready
player.
for action!
So he puts out a taunt guy for 1 mana. I put out this. Now, what I want to do next turn is actually play duplicate as a secret, because then I'll get 2 more of these and be able to stall a little bit longer. This Mage is kind of a mid to late game. I'd say even late game. If you really want to play it, you want to be able to take at least 15 off their face before you even start that final attack. So I'm going to do this and play this. With the Mage, you have your 2 mana Fire Blast, which I wish it was called Fireball, but there's another thing called Fireball. So by getting 2 copies of these are 0 mana creatures, so I can just bring them out, which is really good. This one has the Battle Cry of drawing a card, which is pretty cool too. I could do Mirror Entity right now. I don't see a reason.
Job's done.
Next turn I probably want to summon these 2 guys. Of course, if he does like a Flame Strike or something, he would easily kill all my guys. But he can't do that till the 7th turn.
Handle it!
So this player is once again showing they don't understand the concept of taunt. If you see people doing that, I take that as a message that you're doing pretty well.
Vaporization commencing.
I mean, Secret is a spell, so this should work next turn. Well, now that's a waste of a fireball. You almost certainly never want to use a fireball on anything but the face. So they've messed me up a little bit here. I think it's smartest to save some damage here. And let's go ahead and try and freak them out with this secret. Hopefully they'll summon something pretty powerful on the 6th turn and not something weak.
The Frost Wolves stand ready.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Will it be a 5/5 or a 6/6? Each other friendly minion on the battlefield. Yep, so this one's getting a +1 attack because of this guy, but otherwise this is the same as this. So we'll take this guy out. We'll push this out and push this out. That makes this an 8 instead of a 6.
For the Horde!
And we smash the face. That gets us equal. So he does a little transform. I would never use polymorph in my deck, it's silly. And then you waste 2 more mana. Like polymorph is 4 mana, then you waste 2 more mana attacking the polymorph. You wasted 6 mana to get rid of 1 guy. Alright. I think it's probably smart to use this. And I think it's probably smart to use this here. Even though I've said, just finish saying don't do this. I think in this situation, it's just to protect their face. Don't want to get too low on attack. Next turn will be at 8 mana, so we can play both of these. want to play actually both of these. There you have more attack. Fortunately, that means I probably need to kill this one. Let's see. Is it worth it to lose a guy to do 1 more damage? Interesting calculation here. I think this takes away 3 damage. And I think that's the right move. I didn't save enough. I was planning to use the Fire Blast to get rid of him, so I'd have my guy still alive. Deal 1 damage to all minions, not very useful. Fire Blasting, not very useful. Alright, let's see what happens when we play Unstable. Alright, let's draw a card. And let's summon this. And I'm just gonna protect my face and attack this. So now we got 2 guys doing potentially 8 damage to the face. We got a secret here, which will work good with this. That's not very good. Alright. This. If we get lucky and it hits this 4 times. Wow. Super lucky. Super lucky. That was ideal situation and very random. Back to my point of showing how the Mage deck is really focused around some randomness that you wouldn't really want to play in
Ready for action!
Professional level of anything.
Of magics.
How can we do this? I want to do this, get rid of this to get rid of this, this to get rid of this, this to get rid of that. And that worked pretty good. Still have my secret. We'll keep my secret until I'm attacked in the face, but if he pulls a 10 mana thing, that would be pretty bad. If he has the 10 damage to the face in his deck, which he obviously didn't because he could have tried this strat to stay alive a little bit. At max level here, at 60. So the only thing I have left to do on the Mage is, well, I may win a quest here. Oops, didn't intend to do that. I've done 2 quests offline, and I'm supposed to be recording those and making episodes of those. The only thing I have left to do, though, for the Mage is win 500 games. So I have 352 wins of the 500 right now. I'd have to play it 148 more times and win every single time to get 500. And all that you do when you get 500 is you get a gold version of your hero face, which is not worth it. It is totally not worth doing that for winning 500 games. It will come to you. I'll get it certainly over the years, as long as I keep playing Hearthstone, but it is not worth something grinding out. Now, if you need gold and your Mage deck is the deck that's winning, you might as well just grind it out and get those wins. But I am much more interested in getting all the other characters to level 60.
My magic will tear you apart.
Hopefully, maybe if I get all the characters to level 60, you'll get some kind of reward. That's a possibility. It's not unheard of. I mean, somebody would have to put a comment saying, no, I've gotten all my characters to level 60, they didn't do anything for me. But it's a possibility. And eventually, I imagine the level 60 is going to get raised. The level cap, like in World of Warcraft, will get raised, and they'll make it potentially easier for newer players to get high to level things. That I think in World of Warcraft you can get to like level 50 just by starting the game up. So I don't have much I can do here, so we'll play the unstable portal and just hope we get lucky. We didn't get lucky. So this was a 6 mana thing, now it's a 3 mana thing. I could have done one to the face here, but whatever. Playing Mage against Mage again. You'll see a lot of players playing Mage, particularly at the low ranks of 20, which is about the lowest you're gonna get for a new player. You can get slightly lower at the beginning of the season, but you can't, once you get to 20, you can't fall back downward. Let's see. Just, I'm gonna hit this guy in the face, I guess.
Job's done.
That's all I could do. Well, I probably could have done something different, but I chose to do that. Charge and Divine Shield. I guess that'll work next turn.
Something needs tinkering?
He's playing a mech deck, which might work really well in Mage. I think, particularly if you just don't have Mage, very good Mage cards. Playing a mech deck would probably make a lot of sense. So pretty much want to kill this guy next turn. 4. I want to take damage to the face for 4. If I play this, but I'll pretty much have to play that the 6th turn because I don't have any spells lower than 3. I could play Duplicate and try and get this guy back, but he'd be 6 mana. For Charge and Divine Shield, he's not a very good character to have.
Mind if I roll need?
Two turns I can play Flame Strike, but I'm just gonna do this one. And then do this and hope on the 5th turn the opponent summons something pretty cool. Which is way too random. Way too random to be playing a Mage deck. I probably need to go back and think. Like a Leopard, not something worth wasting the mirror image. Because that was 3 mana. You just spent 3 mana to summon a 1 mana creature. Not very good. Hey. What I want to do is get this out, this out. That means next time, Flame Strike. Go ahead and just hit the face. I'm hoping he focuses just on my face. It's also pretty good that he's summoning all these things, as long as he's not able to kill me. If he doesn't have a spell. Oh man, I really wish I could have 2 Flame Walkers out there, but I don't have that ability, so here we go.
Rock, so stupid!
Get rid of this one. And look, 5 died, so why not? 5 damage to the face. 2 more to the face. Nice. Nice. That was a big turnaround. Were they at 30 last turn? It feels like they were at 30 last turn. Okay. So I think I can play all these. No, I can't, which is a shame, but it's alright.
Serve the fire.
We'll play this secret.
The mighty Millhouse Manastorm!
And then we'll play this spell. Come on, hit him, hit him. Darn it. That stinks. Battle cry, enemy spells cost 0 next turn. Interesting. Do I want to kill this guy? I can't. I mean, I could. Yeah, I need to.
Flame on.
When a friendly minion dies, put 2 copies of it into your hand. Well, why didn't I get 2 copies of one of those guys when they died? I mean, Flamewalker. Should have gotten 2 copies of that. I don't think this one's written right. I think it means when a friendly minion dies on your turn. If I can get a spell that does like 6 or 8 damage, I could probably win this. But it's risky. I mean, I kind of need Flame Strike right now. And I didn't get it. Alright. So we play this. Play this.
Flame on.
Job done. And even though we did all this amazing stuff, and that was a pretty good combination we had there, we're gonna lose. All I have to do is attack the face. My secret's not gonna protect me at all. Even if they attack one of my guys, that'll just, I mean, still not work. In fact, if they attack one of my guys, they're gonna realize very fast that that the secret doesn't do that, because it will reveal itself. Anyway, so I need to do some more work on my mage deck, but I think that was a pretty alright mage deck, and good enough for government work, I say. Anyways, I'm going to say that's the end of this episode. Thank you for watching. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All that helps out. If you want to support me, there are 2 ways. One is by clicking on my name, Rydo. On the right will be a blue button that says support this channel. The other way is by clicking on the Amazon.com affiliate link in the description and just shopping normally. If you want a friend or follow me on practically any social media, including Steam and Battle.net, all that information is also down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.